Today's episode of the Skift Travel Podcast is brought to you by the letter A and the number 26.
So I think that sometime in the future, probably not too distant future, people are going to look back on all of us who lived in 2025 and 2026. And we're like, I wonder if AI can do that. And then it did it. And then they just thought they were the cutest and cleverest thing on the face of the earth. Because I will say, yesterday, when I wrote my prompt into Gemini and had it create that video, I was terribly pleased with myself.
I love it. Yeah, I think it makes it makes the joke.
Yeah, I rendered
I can't believe it did it right.
speechless.
Send that link to me in our prep chat. I was like, this is insane. We need to use this. Should we explain the joke, though? Why today's episode of the Skift Travel Podcast is brought to you by the letter A and the number 26?
Oh, I guess. Fine. Hilton.
It's Hilton.
Hilton. They have their 26th brand out. What was it? Was it actually yesterday?
I think the
debut
debut was yesterday.
Yeah.
We had in Skift the apartment collection. So it's the letter A for apartment collection. And it's their 26th brand. So letter A and number 26. And by the way, it was yesterday as we're recording this podcast. When you are listening to this podcast, dear listener or viewer, it will have been last week.
Yes. So what do you think? We think we're going to hit brand fatigue with Hilton having its 26th brand? Does Hilton need a 26th brand?
Do they need a 25th brand? Does Marriott need a 50th brand, a 100th brand? Does this Hyatt need? I mean, I think we've already hit the point of brand fatigue. That's my hot take here. I mean, how can a consumer... I understand it. I mean, I get it. And I'm not trying to rain on Hilton's parade. It's their day. Launching a brand is a big deal. It takes a lot of work. And I'm sure they've done their research. I'm sure it's going to make money. I'm sure it's filling a niche in the market. But how can
because capitalism. We were just talking about it. Because capitalism.
Well, how can a consumer realistically be expected to keep 26 brands straight in their head? And Marriott, Accor, Hyatt, IHG, I'm not calling out Hilton here, right? They all have similar numbers of brands. Marriott does, Accor does, Hyatt does, IHG does, Choice does. Many of these companies do. So how can a Hilton loyalist really understand the detailed brand position of 26 brands, let alone make an informed decision between the 30 brands at Marriott, the 30 brands at Accor? I don't know. I worry about it. I'm sure it makes sense. I'm sure the economics are going to work. And I'm sure it's a well-designed, thoughtful brand. I don't know. What do you think about this, Sarah?
I don't think about it too much. And I'll tell you why. When I have my little apps in my travel, thing on my iPhone. And when I go to stay at a hotel,
my travel thing is an iPhone.
I hit the little button, and then I mean, there's only 3 of them, right? I only have 3 of the big boys. And then I just pick one. I usually go to Marriott first. I think it's because it's like the first one on the list. And I don't know, for me, I would say 9 times out of 10, it's like, oh yeah, that's a Marriott. That's a Marriott. Part of Bonvoy, whatever. So I don't think about it because I actually don't try to keep track because I can't keep track. Like I don't have the grid memorized. And so I outsource that thinking to my apps.
But is that good or bad? I mean, so I agree with you that
it's fine for me. It's bad for the brands. It's fine for me.
Well, they've created these overarching brands that really, the brands really are the loyalty brands. The brand is really Bonvoy, and you don't really know what's inside the box of Bonvoy, and you just trust them that they'll figure it out. And same thing with Hilton Honors, and same thing with, Accor Live Limitless or whatever. It's interesting. We talked about loyalty on our last one. It's something that I'm very focused on. And we're going to have, by the time you listen to this podcast, we're going to have our mega trends next week, by the time you're listening to it this week. And Sarah, you've asked me to do Sarah's the puppet master, the ring master running mega trends this year.
We can go with puppet master.
Puppet master.
I'm good with that. Yep. It's a bit maniacal. It's kind of mysterious and moderately evil. I enjoy that.
You've asked me to do an onstage debate with a very smart venture capitalist. So I feel like a presidential candidate. I'm doing some debate prep where I'm behind the scenes with my cue cards. How am I going to answer this? And we'll give a bit of a spoiler. It's either a spoiler or by the time you listen to it, it's probably already happened. So it's okay, a little bit behind the scenes. One of the debate questions is, will AI make brands more or less visible? And I was thinking about prepping for this debate as I read the news on Skift, of course, about Hilton launching its 26 brands. And we're working on a research report on this topic. So, well, you don't think about it that much, Sarah, or maybe you haven't been thinking about it recently. It was on the brain a lot for me, which is why I called this story out for our podcast today. And I worry, I mean this genuinely. I don't mind a company having a lot of brands. I think it makes a lot of sense. I also think sometimes it's just a historical artifact of M&A where there's a great brand up for sale and you can't say no, or you need to expand into a market, or you need a conversion brand, or you need a soft brand. So I get how it happens. I'm not blaming anyone, but I worry in a world of AI, if you have, let's stop picking on Hilton, any of these companies, if you have 100 brands, each brand can't really stand for something all that differentiated. And if each brand doesn't really stand for something all that differentiated, in a world of AI, I worry that they all just get lumped together. If we're thinking about AI search and discovery, you only get like 3 or 4 or 5 answers.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you say, I want a really great...
fewer, like 3.
Fewer.
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it's just mine.
I'm in city
it knows my
X.
preference. It's 3. Yeah.
I'm in city X and I want a great hotel full of history and culture downtown at this price point. If your brand isn't differentiated, and again, I don't see how it's possible if you're an umbrella of 100 brands for each of those 100 brands to have a unique, really, truly identifiable, unique selling point, then how does your brand even surface in an AI world? So poke some holes in that, Sarah. This is my debate prep. Poke some holes in that because I think I'm taking the other side of the debate.
Well, I think that that's one of our big megatrends this year is that travel marketers, the marketing teams of these companies, like this is their big challenge. Like this is the only thing they're working on in 2026. And that is trying to woo the large language models and trying to figure out how they show up. And so, yeah, I get your point about when there's so many of them, but I think that what these marketers really want to do is be like, all right, I take that challenge. I got to figure out how to make mine one of them.
Yeah.
Because you think about how marketers, use personas and they have each specific hotel. They know who they want. They know who their person is. And so they want to make sure that when that person, can you imagine what the conversion rate is if they can micro-target the right person with the right hotel? I mean, it's got to be huge. So
yeah, so it becomes a micro brand argument. Like it's actually not that the brands don't all blend together. It's actually that the brands all stand apart. And in a world of hyper personalization, we can better deliver the specific one of our 26 brands that fits this travel use case perfectly via AI. Brands become more visible. I see that. I also see it as sort of like a cereal aisle kind of thing where you don't exactly know what the AI is going to pick. So you want to have a lot of shelf space because I guess in my analogy, the AI is the new Instacart shopper and they are perusing these aisles for you as they try and find the right brand for you. And you want to just have a lot of shelf space for that AI to eat up. I guess, all right, I'm going to work on my debate a little more. I want to make sure I do this properly.
I will say for all of you who are coming to Megatrends or are going to listen or watch Megatrends, for this debate, I am the moderator and I have a buzzer, Seth. I can
You have a buzzer?
I do.
Oh my God.
It makes noise.
I mean, so you're going to have we don't have individual, it's not Jeopardy style where we get to buzz in. You get to cut us off.
Yes.
You control.
Yes.
Did you consider a gavel or did you go straight to buzzer?
I went straight to buzzer. I went straight to buzzer and timer. Gotta have some conflict, ticking clock, sound effects.
Yeah. All right. I love it.
Yeah.
So you can already, listener, hear me playing a little bit devil's advocate. We do this call out sometimes, but we want to hear from you. We're going to these get posted on YouTube, on LinkedIn. We read the comments. You can tell us what you think. What do you think? Help me prep for my debate if it's early enough. If it's not, watch the debate and tell me what you thought. And we'll continue having this loyalty conversation on the podcast because I think it's this loyalty, LLM, AI, corporate strategy. This is the intersection of it all. So very interested in having more of these conversations.
Yeah. And so this week, while hotels were coming out with their gazillionth brand, we had some airlines who are consolidating. It was a fun weekend for those of us on the on the editorial team. Had some huge breaking news on a Sunday afternoon with Allegiant making a $1.5 billion merger offer for Sun Country. Thoughts?
Huge.
You've been dealing with the low-cost carriers for quite some time now. A well-timed research report also came out right after it.
Yeah, we published a research report on this topic basically 3 or 4 days after the news. The news was announced on Sunday. We published a research report on Thursday. Dear listener, I will tell you this secret. Research reports do not take 4 days to write. We got very lucky, or our airlines analyst, Ashab, was an M&A advisor to this deal that we don't know about, and he got a nice commission or something. But no, our airline analyst, Ashab, he's been super focused on these low-cost carriers, and it's really interesting. Low-cost carriers in the United States are kind of dying, and we had a bit of a chart. I don't know if we can pull it up, but we've got this chart where it's in the report, so maybe it can come up, maybe it can, where we look at low-cost airlines on average by region. On average in Europe, they're earning like a 10% margin. Same thing in Asia. Same thing in the Middle East. Same thing in LATAM. They're making money in pretty much every major region except for the US, where they just are consistently losing money. And so that's sort of this question. This is like my job as a head of research is I go to my analyst and I say, this doesn't make sense to me. Help me explain it. And what he came back with was one, and this is a megatrend, luxury, premium. The premium demand in the United States is insane. I mean, we talk about this all the time, right, Sarah? Like, luxury travel is huge. But the other one is that the competition from the network, the large airlines, has just been really, really intense. And basically, Spirit Airlines is dying. They're in bankruptcy. It's not final. They're potentially restructuring. There are some buyers who might like to buy them up. But Spirit Airlines is going into bankruptcy. Southwest, which is the literally invented the low-cost model, is moving upscale. They're charging for checked bags. JetBlue, New York's hometown airline, I fly them a lot. They're now flying international. They've now got a lay-flat business class seat to London, which is a very not low-cost airline thing to do. So everyone's either moving up market or going out of business, or, as is the case of Allegiant, merging. And what's interesting is our analyst, Shab, called this the anti-Spirit, because actually, Allegiant is actually one of the most profitable airlines, low-cost airlines in the US. And actually, I think globally it's very profitable as well. There's another chart I have, which maybe we can pull up. It shows the percentage of exclusive routes for US airlines. So we were joking earlier, because of capitalism, Sarah, right? Well, one of the beautiful things, one of the challenges of capitalism, or the beautiful things about capitalism, is where there's a lot of competition, prices tend to go down, margins tend to go down. So one of the great things you can do, if you can do it, I think this is like a famous Peter Thiel quote, is that competition is for suckers. So where can you fly that others aren't flying? And we have this analysis. Here it is up here. This is exclusive routes for US airlines. So this is where these airlines, the percentage of their network where they are the only airline flying on that route. And you can see a friend of the podcast, Neilman's Breeze, Avelo, and Allegiant pretty much make their bones by flying to places where no one else is flying. And when you fly to places that other airlines fly, the network airlines win or the premium airlines win. So when there is competition, people choose to pay for more legroom. When there is not competition, people are happy to fly these low-cost airlines. That put Allegiant in a really strong position, and they're using that strong position to merge with Sun Country, which also has a very unique model. So it's quite interesting. My first thought, I woke, groggy on a Sunday, was, oh boy, another low-cost carrier in trouble. This is a sign of weakness. I actually think it's a merger of strength. So it's an interesting place. And I know we got a little bit nerdy, but I think that the broader takeaways for non-airline people is that it ties into our megatrends, like luxury megatrends, about competition in this space, about continued demand for travel. So I don't know. And about the US being a really weird market and really funky compared to the rest of the world.
Yeah. So do you think they'll stay? They'll hold true to their low-cost roots for both brands? Or do you think one thing that is going to come out of this merger is lie flat seats? And, like, are, are they going to start wooing the luxury traveler as well?
I doubt it. I don't know
Yeah.
Sun Country that well. Your Midwestern roots come up often. Do you know Sun
Yeah.
Country? It is a Midwestern airline.
Yeah, it is. But, I've never flown them. So I think they're kind of, I'm going to say this and I have absolutely no idea, but I think they're more on the west side of the,
Yeah.
of the Midwest, not on the Rust Belt side of the Midwest, which is where I am. I am like, we are Spirit loyal in Michigan. That's
yeah.
But like my sister lives in Colorado.
New York for 20, and Sarah,
Yeah.
you've been in New York for 25 years, so maybe.
Yeah.
I keep calling
Yeah.
you. We've been jokingly, and you can refer to yourself as a Midwesterner, but maybe you're a New Yorker. Maybe you have more New Yorker
Yeah, no,
taste.
but I feel like a Midwesterner. It's like once, always, all of that kind of thing. But like my sister out in Denver, she is like she has a Frontier credit card, like where I only have my American Airlines credit card. She only uses her Frontier credit card. So we all have our low cost credit cards of choice.
I think it's interesting. I mean, I think it's unlikely Gordon or Jay or Megna or Shab would be the better person to answer that question for sure. But it would require a major fleet rework. And I think it's actually a cool topic. Like gutting those planes and putting in new seats is incredibly expensive. And if you're already doing well, I mean, and they are, again, Allegiant is doing well compared to Spirit or Frontier or JetBlue or Southwest for that matter. I don't think they'll change. I think this is more like because someone will get Spirit. Someone will get Spirit. And I think this is more of a defensive move to say like, all right, once Spirit gets bought by someone, maybe Frontier or its airplanes go somewhere, they're going to retrench. They're going to restructure. Southwest is retrenching and restructuring and seems to be on a good path. Same for JetBlue. So I think this is more of like in 5 years, when we've shaken all of this craziness out, we want to be in a better place, right? And back to the brands thing, back to the Hilton brands thing, to tie it into the hotel things, that sometimes there are brands for sale that even if it's going to create like confusing structure for your consumers, you can't say no because you don't want to let someone else buy that brand. I don't know. It's cool. It was a cool story.
So I think one of our other big stories or cool stories or interesting stories of the week was about what happens when your destination gets thrust into the global conversation and the spotlight for reasons that have nothing to do with travel and tourism. So I, of course, am talking right now about Greenland, who is, I mean, does Greenland want to be on the front page of the New York Times every single day for the last week? I mean, you could say maybe, but not under these particular set of contexts.
Isn't the old adage
military? Yeah,
isn't
exactly.
The old adage something along the lines of the only bad press is no press. Like at least they're in the headlines.
Yeah, and so I actually called Greenland up and I asked him that question because I was curious.
What'd they say?
They said, "Yeah, good question, Sarah." They basically said it's too soon to really tell. They've been in this conversation, I don't know, how long's it been? A year or so, where there's been kind of this saber rattling about, was it in the first Trump administration where he first floated taking over Greenland and we all laughed?
I think he did, right? And we all laughed.
Yeah, I think so. And then we had that 4-year respite. But now it's become a different thing and a more serious thing. And so they said that they have seen some hesitation. It's too soon to really tell what this is going to bring, but also, like, people are talking about Greenland. Greenland is a destination now that, for better or worse, everyone knows about. We were also kind of talking yesterday about what it would be like, and I actually looked some of this up. What about some of these other countries that are in the news?
In the target of the Trump administration saber rattling. What is their tourism? What is the if you're a target of Trump administration, what does your tourism strategy look like?
Yeah. So please, if any of you listening are these people, please do write to us and tell us.
We want to talk to you.
We're really interested. So I went to Venezuela's website because I wanted to reach out to them. And unfortunately, they do have a website, but when I went to the contact details, I got a 404 error. So their contact page was down. But then we were also thinking about Iran, we were thinking about Somalia, and then we were thinking about Minneapolis as well. Legitimately curious, especially maybe for the meetings industry, like our conferences and conventions pulling out of the Twin Cities because of all of the unrest. I mean,
Yeah.
the optics, the pictures coming out of Minneapolis this week were, I mean, sometimes I had to think like, am I looking at pictures of protests in Iran or am I looking at Minneapolis? Which one is it?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely.
And like, and I am not kidding.
No.
That sounds like a joke. It should be a joke. Absolutely not a joke.
I mean, Venezuela, I'm kind of scrolling through it right now, like has a wonderfully designed Welcome to Venezuela tourism landing page, I will say. Like, I think it looks really beautiful and they've done a nice job of it. It's interesting. I think this is one of these, I don't know if it's a side effect, but like this is an age-old problem in tourism marketing, which is how do you handle political unrest? How do you handle perception of safety, perception of all this stuff? And I mean, this is not the first time that a tourism board will have to figure out how to navigate that, but I think it is a symptom of the world of geopolitics that we live in today, that this conversation is not maybe limited to countries exiting civil war. It's a conversation for increasingly countries all over the world, even in, even in the European Union, they're having this conversation. But I think, when we were kind of brainstorming a little bit, we were in person the other day, like, Rwanda is a great, probably a really fascinating case study in what does everyone know Rwanda for? This like terrible conflict and violence. And now it's actually increasingly an up and coming tourism destination. They sponsor a Premier League team. Rwanda's rebuilding its airline. You're seeing it more and more on these like where to travel lists. So it's a fascinating thing where this is not a new problem in destination marketing. The problem now is that it applies to NATO countries and all over the world, I guess. But it's a fascinating topic.
I moderated a roundtable for the World Economic Fund, I think maybe a year ago. And we were talking about all of the kind of the problems and the challenges that were kind of plaguing some destinations. And I was like, well, all of you very smart people sitting around this table, who's doing it right? And almost unanimously, they're like, Rwanda.
It's incredible what they've done.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm interested in visiting. If Visit Rwanda wants to sponsor a podcast episode from Kigali, we're game to check it out on the ground. I mean, it's fascinating. So I think again, one of the it's not a megatrend, I don't think, but Trump, I think there is a megatrend around uncertainty. But one of the themes of the year in my mind is that, or even of the last year, is that politics is. We go on vacation to get away from it all, but we're still not like tourism is there's politics involved in tourism for sure.
Oh,
and
a huge amount. Yeah.
Literally on every level, down to the local level and Airbnb stuff, onto the state and federal level in terms of funding and strategy, on the geopolitical level, on the economic development level, on all these things, on the soft diplomacy. It's all there.
I think that sometimes as Americans, just because we don't have a tourism minister, maybe we kind of don't think about it as much that way. But, every other place in the world does. It's essentially a cabinet position in their governments is how to get and support the travel and tourism economy for that country, simply because it is such an economic engine. I mean, show me the money and all. So, Seth, last week, we did a Bet the Coffee that I actually took, and I can't remember what it was. Do you remember what it was?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Do we have it in our
great.
show notes? Oh, no. Or are we just absolved from our bets if we can't remember?
Yeah, if we can't remember, I think we're absolved. We could go back. But I do remember it was one where we actually disagreed. So we'll have to go back and
it was about tariffs. It was about the Supreme Court and tariffs. We haven't gotten the ruling yet.
No, we didn't. And I was...
Oh, we did?
They didn't. No, they didn't. They were going to do it on Wednesday. But I don't think they did, or it was expected to come on Wednesday, but
It was
we didn't.
expected to come on Wednesday, and it was
Yeah.
it was again. We'll roll that bet over because we're still waiting for
Yeah.
the Supreme Court and for
Yeah.
tariffs. And if we'll get another Trump news cycle,
It seems like tariffs are so 2025. So many other things are going on. It's like we're into the militarized zone. We're off the economic zone. We're onto the military part of the
well,
administration.
we're following the news, right? We're like,
Yeah.
I think that's one of those interesting things is we are following the news, we are following the headlines. I would counter a little bit there, Sarah, which is to say that like I get that right now there's a lot of military saber rattling and real operations happening in the news, but it's an old Carville quote, but it's the economy's stupid. I think that it's easy to overlook this tariff stuff as we, the news headlines, which do demand our attention, are pulling us all over the place. But that economic undercurrent is the key.
Yeah.
Back to all these things that we've talked about. New hotel brands, low-cost carriers, international tourism, that all relies on, do consumers and businesses have money to spend and confidence to spend on travel? Can they be confident? Can a business be confident that it will attend this conference and will have the budget to do so? Can a consumer be confident that they can spend this money, book this flight, and take that money out of their wallet? To me, that is ultimately ground zero for all these conversations. And we live in a global economy with global trade, and tariffs are so essential to that. So I'm gonna come back swinging hard on that one. Like, yeah, we're on to the military whatever error, but I think that ultimately, like, let's not forget the core driver of everything, which is the economy. So I'm still want to see this tariffs ruling. So we can roll that bet over for another podcast episode.
Do you have another hot take for this week?
Well, I mean, my hot take, I put my hot take up front about Hilton and its brands. I think we're coming into an era of brand fatigue. That's my hot take. That's something that I'm very focused on. How do you think? I'm going to be very focused on earnings this coming week. I mean, I'm going to be focused on megatrends, but Delta Airlines gave this earnings report, and again, we're not trying to be too airline nerd heavy, but it was something like their premium. Delta is one of the only airlines that breaks up premium cabin versus main cabin. So basically, business first versus the rest of us, the rest of the world. The main cabin revenue, I think I'm going to quote this approximately right, but main cabin revenue was down in the low teens. I want to say 13%. Don't quote me on that 100%, on the low teens. Premium cabin revenue was up 7%. 7% growth in a world of a couple of points, 2 to 3 points of GDP growth is already 2 to 3x GDP. To have almost a 20-point spread between a decline in main cabin and a 7-point growth in premium, that caught my attention as a real hot take about this. Where are we going? If the premiums continue to grow, if the main cabin continues to decline, what does that mean? Is it just a blip in the rest of us, in the rest of the economy, and we're going to catch up? Or is it a sign of something different? That's on my radar. Not as a 1 week bet, but as a paying attention to maybe not a hot take, but a lukewarm take. Do you have any hot takes you want to share with the world on the record? On the spot?
Yeah, I was thinking about our winners and our losers of this week. So I have a personal one that I will share with all of you. It has to do with airline loyalty for all of you who have been following my American Airlines credit card status situation. So I have just figured out, as we come to the end of the loyalty cycle, I think I am going to get or achieve. I say it like it's something that I earned. I'm going to achieve executive platinum status with American, which is its highest level of status. So here's my thing for my winner and my loser. American Airlines, you are on notice, because if I enjoy my executive premium status, perhaps this was worth it. If I do not, if I fly for the rest of this year and I see no nothing, I think I might abandon you after 30 years. I think I might follow my friends my friends and colleagues who keep on telling me I should start playing the game. I've never played the game because I thought it was too hard. But now I'm going to see what being the most high status flyer on American Airlines is like. So we'll see. So American can be a winner or a loser. This is your year, American Airlines, 2026. Show me what you got.
Can I copy your format, Sarah? Because I have a similar
Sure.
in this loyalty point space. I've been trying to play the game. I'm not that good at it because I kind of get frustrated a little too easily to be really patient points rewards person. But I got this credit card, the Built card or Built membership.
Yes.
Because I live in New York City and I pay my rent.
I've been reading about this in the Times and everything. Like it's gotten a huge amount of coverage here specifically in New York because I think we're one of the
you got to have expensive rent for it.
Yes,
Bill's whole
exactly.
premise was you could pay your rent on your credit card with no transaction fees and earn points based on your rent, which I won't tell you my rent, but in New York City, you can imagine it's a lot. It's a couple of free flights.
It's ghastly.
It's ghastly. And, I think in San Francisco, it had a following in these cities with these insane rents. And so I'm earning a ton of points. It's free. And all you had to do to keep it open was have 5 transactions a month that weren't rent. So I would go, there was a smoothie place down the block. I'd get an $8 smoothie. I'd go buy a coffee. I'd tap into the subway for $3, $2.75, now $3. And I'd get my points. And Wells Fargo underwrote this credit card. This is old reporting, but it bears repeating. They were losing reportedly nearly $10 million a month because Wells Fargo was footing the bill on all of these mortgage and rent transaction payments to the tune of probably tens of millions a year that they were running through this card.
You would think that the bankers who live in New York would have gotten this in an instant. Well, I don't know. Did they come up with this plan in Cleveland?
The hope,
the
hope was they would earn these really high income, high demographic, high spending customers in New York and San Francisco in this great market that Wells Fargo was not in and and still is dominated by Capital One, Chase, and American Express. And they wanted to get their foot in the door. They only miscalculated because I only spent 5 other transactions. So it became my cup of coffee card, not my big purchase card. So they've redone this whole program now. They've announced Wells Fargo is out. They found a new issuer program. They've bring it back in. Maybe this is also why loyalty has been on the brain. So now I've got to figure out how to navigate this thing. So my same thing that you said to American Airlines, I'll use the same winner or loser logic, which is that I'm going to try and fit you sort of, there's these games you can play with Built to not have a transaction fee, but now there might be a transaction fee. So same thing to Built that you just said to American Airlines on our podcast. I don't know how many listeners really want to listen to us, but I think there are implications for loyalty. Let's see. They've got this new system. We're going to give it a couple of months, see if I can figure out how it works. And if it doesn't, it might be goodbye to Built as well. But I think this broader picture, if I can just make it not just about us talking about our personal lives, although that is fun to do, it does talk about some of the pitfalls in loyalty where everyone says, we're going to build loyal customers. We're going to build loyalty. Everyone loves loyalty. It's so direct is cheaper. I see that on LinkedIn a lot. Direct bookings and repeat bookings are cheaper. Well, ask Wells Fargo how cheap loyalty is because it costs them about $120 million a year and they didn't see any return on it. Ask some of these companies, even go ask Bonvoy how much it costs to run these programs. Ask American Airlines how much it costs to run these programs. This is a bigger point, which is that loyalty is not simple. It's not easy, and it's not always the right answer. Everyone thinks they can have a loyalty program. Everyone thinks it's easy, and it's not. If you're Hilton, you have to manage 26 different brands and all these franchise agreements and all these Hilton honors points. If you're Built in Wells Fargo, you've got to pay all these points. And people, like we talked about last time, people are mercenary. Once my rent payment thing doesn't work on Built anymore, I'm out. And so I think, we are kind of joking and talking about our personal lives, I would tie into a broader point, which is that this point I keep hammering loyalty as an emotion instead of loyalty as a points program, which is that if your American Airlines Executive Platinum is not really an emotional thing, prove it. My Built card, prove it. My Hilton Honors, prove it. And that's expensive. And it's not quite as free and cheap to get those free loyalty bookings. Turns out they cost tens of millions of dollars. So that's my
you know
point
who
for today.
understands this? Brian Chesky.
Oh yeah, that's why they never launched the loyalty program.
Yeah, we've had a couple conversations about this.
Rafit asks him pretty much every year at Global Forum, when are you going to launch a loyalty program? I love Airbnb. I stay with it all the time. And I don't think Chesky's ever said this explicit to him, but his answer is effectively, but you stay with us all the time. But you love Airbnb. So we've got your loyalty. So totally, I agree with you on that one. And Chesky had a big week this week too, by the way, Sarah.
Yeah.
He hired a bunch of new
Brian,
people.
if you want to come on the podcast, let us know.
Yeah. In case you haven't noticed, we're moving away from guests, but we will make an exception for Brian Chesky. If he is a listener, he is welcome on this podcast whenever he wants to be on it.
Anytime. All right. I think that's it for this week. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Have a good one, everyone.
Let us know your thoughts about everything we talked about, and see you next time.
See you soon. Bye.